This AI-generated podcast is for general information only and does not constitute financial or legal advice. Please consult a qualified professional.
Welcome to the Luxembourg Fundcast. Produced by Bertrand Mariot, a regulatory lawyer qualified as avocat à la cour in Luxembourg and Paris. This show brings you reliable insights on Luxembourg regulations sourced from curated official references. This episode is current as of 1st of March 2026.
Thank you. It is really a pleasure to be here for another deep dive today.
So, today we have a really fascinating mission ahead of us. We are unpacking a mix of what I'd call hard operational changes and some softer reminders.
Right, and sometimes those softer reminders are the ones that catch you off guard.
Exactly. I mean, on one hand, we have the CSSF's new centralized web hub for covered bonds, which launched on February 23rd, 2026.
That is a very concrete, hard infrastructure change.
Yes, very concrete. But then on the other hand, we have the reissuance of two UCITES FAQs on February 12th.
Dealing with securities financing transactions and master feeder structures. Right. And the interesting thing is, the regulator explicitly flagged these as graphic updates.
Which is a classic trap. You know, I think when you see graphic updates only in your inbox on a Monday morning,
you just file it away and ignore it.
Exactly. Scroll right past. But that is the trap, because when a regulator takes the time to repolish old rules from 2013 and 2020, they aren't just doing it for aesthetic reasons.
So what do they do?
They are putting those obligations back in the shop window. It is a critical compliance health check. It is a reminder that these are standing obligations, and they are still being actively watched.
Right. So our goal today is to kind of separate the noise from the signal.
Yes.
Let's set the scene first. It's late February 2026. The CSSF makes a significant move to centralize the covered bonds framework, the lettre de gage.
And for anyone working in operations, this is a big deal. We're moving away from what used to be serious reference fragmentation.
It was a bit of a treasure hunt before, wasn't it?
It really was. You had to pull the Law 88 December 2021, and then you had to hunt down the authorization forms and then cross-reference the circulars. Now, it is a single maintained operational index.
So it's not just a library of documents.
No, it is the launchpad for your authorization file and your ongoing reporting architecture all in one place.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, before we get stuck into the mechanical weeds of all this, I want to ask you for the gold nuggets.
Sure.
If I am listening right now, maybe I'm a Luxembourg Fund governance professional or a corporate secretary, what are the top 3 practical takeaways I need to grab from this deep dive?
Okay, 3 points. First, regarding covered bonds. You need to treat this new CSSF page as a workflow. It is not just information you read once. It is your single operational index for launching a program and managing the reporting flow.
Got it. Bookmark it and build procedures around it. What is number 2?
Number 2 is SFT precision.
That's securities financing transactions.
Yes. For UCIs using SFTs, if your prospectus contains generic language, you are essentially paying fees twice.
Paying twice. How?
Well, you pay once for drafting vague language, and you pay again in time and resources to defend it when the regulator asks for specifics. The FAQ demands specific, evidence-backed disclosure.
No more boilerplate text.
Exactly. And the third nugget is master feeder engineering.
Okay, tell me about that.
You must hard-code information duties into the master feeder agreement. Because if you cannot get master-level data on the feeder's accounting, period,
you run into a reporting issue.
Actually, it is worse. You do not have a reporting problem. You have an audit budget problem.
Oh.
Yes. Because if the dates don't align, you're going to need an ad hoc audit, and those are not cheap.
An audit budget problem. I think that phrase alone will definitely get some attention.
It usually does.
Let's dive into the concepts properly then. Topic 1, covered bonds or lettre de gage. For the benefit of anyone listening who might be a bit more fund-focused than banking-focused, what is the core mechanism here in plain English?
It is a supervised issuance regime. Basically, a credit institution runs a covered bond issue program.
So they are issuing bonds to investors.
Right. But unlike a standard corporate bond, these are backed by a documented cover pool.
So there are actual assets sitting there as a safety net.
Exactly. Usually mortgages or public sector loans. And because this is a safety-first regime, that pool is verified by a special approved statutory auditor.
A réviseur d'entreprise agréé.
Yes, a specific role just for this. And this is for Luxembourg credit institutions. The law of 8 December 2021 actually opened this up to universal banks, subject to some prudential limitations, and it incorporates European covered bond labels.
Okay, so a very robust, secure mechanism. Let's move to our second topic, UCI SFTs. We love our acronyms.
We do. So UCIs are undertakings for collective investment in transferable securities, basically the gold standard for retail funds.
And SFTs.
Securities financing transactions. The FAQ lists exactly what counts here. It is securities lending, repurchase agreements, reverse repos, and buy-sell-back transactions.
Basically mechanisms to squeeze a bit of extra yield out of the portfolio.
Precisely. But there is a crucial exclusion in the FAQ that you need to be aware of.
What's excluded?
It explicitly states that it does not deal with total return swaps or financial derivatives. This is strictly about financing transactions.
Good to clarify that boundary. So, topic 3, master feeder structures.
This is essentially plumbing. You have a Luxembourg feeder UCIs that invest at least 85% of its assets into a master UCIs.
And that master could be in Luxembourg or anywhere else in the EU.
Exactly. And the friction points in this plumbing usually happen around two things: the audit report mechanics and the disclosure of aggregate charges.
Making sure the investor knows the total fees across both layers.
Correct.
Okay, so we understand the concepts. Let's get into the operational playbook. Imagine I am looking at my board packs and my procedures. How do I actually handle this?
Let's start with Module 1, the Covered Bond Program Launch.
Okay, say I want to use the new CSSF page to launch a program. What is the sequence?
Step 1 is authorization. You need a program authorization before you do anything. This requires a complete file and a formal request letter.
And who needs to sign that? Is it just a compliance officer?
No, this is governance level. You need specific management body declarations signed by at least 2 members of the management body.
So the board is actively taking responsibility.
Exactly. Then step 2 is your operating model. It is not just about filling out a form.
Right.
You need a cover register policy. How are you maintaining the logs of the assets? And you need the appointment of that special auditor we mentioned, referencing Circular CSSF 26907.
And once you launch, I assume it's an ongoing effort.
That is step 3, reporting. You have quarterly tables and an annual report requirement referencing Circular CSSF 25895.
So the new web page is basically a dashboard to manage all 3 of those steps.
Precisely.
Let's shift to Module 2. UCIEs, SFTs, and what you called the evidence pack.
Right, because remember, even though this is a graphic update from December 2020 content, the standard remains incredibly high.
So what does the regulator want to see in the prospectus?
They warn specifically against unduly large ranges. You cannot just put 0 to 100% for your expected use of SFTs.
Because that doesn't actually tell the investor anything.
Exactly. Disclosures must be realistic. And then there's the economic side.
The costs and revenues.
Yes. Managers must justify the cost drivers and the revenue splits. There can be no hidden revenues. And you must do this with quantitative support.
Wait, so you can't just say, we split the revenue 60-40 with the lending agent because that's the market standard.
No, you need actionable evidence. Do not just draft text. Build a justification pack that proves the fees are effective and that any conflicts of interest are managed properly.
A justification pack. That is a great practical tip. Have the math ready before they ask.
Always.
Okay, Module 3, Master Feeder Mechanics. How do we engineer the annual report so we don't trip up?
The FAQ is very clear on where the aggregate charges must sit. They have to be either in the notes to the financial statements or in the other information section.
Not the activity report.
No, not the activity report.
And what about that audit budget problem you teased earlier? The ad hoc audit.
Right. If the accounting years differ between the master and the feeder, you need an ad hoc report. And the standard here is strict. It must be a full scope audit under ISO 700 or ISO 800 or an equivalent.
So a heavy, expensive audit process just because the dates don't match.
Exactly. You really want to engineer your agreements to align those periods if possible.
Is there any good news for the operational teams? Any efficiency tips in the sources?
There is one relief. The FAQ highlights a no-look-through rule for Luxembourg feeder monthly reporting.
Meaning
For the monthly stats, the feeder does not have to drill down into the underlying assets of the master fund.
Well, that saves some serious spreadsheet headaches.
It does.
Let's move to our friction section. I always like asking this. Where do things go wrong? What breaks in reality?
If we analyze the failure modes, they are quite distinct. For covered bonds, the failure mode is treating the authorization as a one-off event.
You get the stamp of approval and forget about it.
Right. But the real friction is the continuous evidence. Maintaining that cover register daily and keeping up with the quarterly reporting flow.
And what breaks with SFTs?
The generic trap. using boilerplate language in the prospectus without the quantitative memo to back up why the fee split is justified.
So if the CSSF asks why, and you have no document, you fail the governance test.
Exactly. It's a failure of evidence.
And the master feeder failure mode?
The year-end surprise. Failing to coordinate the master's data delivery, which leads to total panic during audit season.
So how do we fix all this?
Constructive obligation framing. Do not wait for a query from the regulator. Standardize the SFT evidence pack now. Review your master feeder agreement clauses now.
It's all about being proactive rather than reactive.
Precisely.
Okay, let's crystallize this with a checklist. If I am reviewing my files tomorrow morning, what specific documents do I need to see physically present to know I am compliant?
Let's run through it. For covered bonds, you need the program authorization letter and verify it has the management confirmations. You need the cover register policy showing your operational logs, and you need the special auditor appointment.
Excellent. And for SFTs?
You need the cost driver justification file. That is your quantitative support. You need to check your specific prospectus disclosures to ensure there are no 0 to 100% ranges without a documented reason.
And execution?
Yes. You need best execution logs specifically for your SFTs.
Check. And finally, for master feeders.
Pull the annual report proofs. Check the exact placement of the aggregate charges, and if your accounting years mismatch, ensure you have the ad hoc audit package on file.
Perfect. That is a very actionable checklist. Let's look at the calendar. What dates do we need to circle in red?
Well, the most immediate date is already here. The CSSF Covered Bonds page went live on February 23, 2026.
So the hub is active now. And what about the UCIS FAQs?
This is what I call a non-date. Because these are graphic updates of 2020 and 2013 standards, there are no new future deadlines.
Meaning the deadline is basically yesterday.
Exactly. The deadline is now. These are standing expectations.
Are there any other future dates mentioned for covered bonds?
No fixed future dates in the sources, but you must emphasize the recurring nature of the quarterly and annual reporting.
Build them into your compliance calendar.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up, I want to ask for one final thought on relevance. Why does all of this really matter for our listeners right now?
Look at it this way. Luxembourg is reinforcing a covered bonds regime that is operationally legible to the market. But at the same time, it is quietly reminding UCITES managers that graphic updates doesn't mean the old rules have softened. Precision is still the currency of compliance.
Precision is the currency of compliance. I really like that. It is a subtle but powerful reminder to keep our operational hygiene sharp.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for walking us through this deep dive. It has been incredibly practical.
It was my pleasure.
Follow on Spotify or subscribe to Rigore Media and Bertrand MURAUX on YouTube. Connect with Bertrand on LinkedIn. Visit bertrandmurillo.com. All links are in the show notes. It was the Luxembourg Fundcast for you today.